Am I the whole for stealing everything from my little sister? I, 17F, have been an artist for as long as I can remember. Some kids were into sports, others into academics. I was the kid who always had paint under my nails or sketchbooks piled up in my backpack. Art was the one thing that made me feel alive. Drawing comics, painting murals for school, even dabbling in music, it was always just my thing. By the time I was in elementary school, I had already built a reputation. I'd show my little comics to my classmates, sometimes to the whole school during art fairs, and parents would stop me in the hallways and say things like, "You're the one who draws those characters, right?" Even now, years later, I'll run into people who ask, "Are you still making cartoons?" That encouragement became fuel. Now, as I'm heading into senior year, I'm seriously considering applying to art colleges. This is my passion, maybe even my future. My little sister Miley, 14F, though, has always struggled with confidence when it comes to finding her own thing. She's not untalented, she's just hesitant, dipping her toes into hobbies but never fully diving in. She's dabbled in music, tried dance for a bit, talked about starting a small business, but nothing has ever stuck. The tricky part is, I genuinely love sharing my interests. I'm the type of person who, if I find a show I like, I want to binge it with someone. If I find a game I enjoy, I want to play it side by side. It makes the joy double. So, whenever Miley hinted at liking something I liked, I encouraged it. I never meant for it to come across as me overshadowing her, but that's exactly how she's taken it. The first real incident happened about a year ago. I started selling small handmade art pieces at comic cons with a friend. It wasn't a full-time job or anything, just a way to make some money and get my name out there. I was also partly inspired by our stepmom, who sells crafts at conventions too. Miley had occasionally mentioned wanting to start a business of her own, but it was always vague, nothing specific, no concrete steps. When I actually did start, though, she got furious. She accused me of stealing her idea, saying I was going to do that first. I tried to explain that I wasn't taking anything away from her, that she could still do her own thing whenever she wanted, but she didn't want to hear it. It felt like the first time she officially labeled me a thief of her dreams. Then came the violin. Back when Miley was in elementary school, she played violin for a couple of years before quitting. The instrument just sat in its case, collecting dust in her house. Meanwhile, I was flourishing with music, percussion in the school band, piano at home. I thought, why not try violin too? It was sitting there and used. So I picked it up, taught myself the basics, and slowly got better. I wasn't amazing by any means, but I enjoyed the challenge. Miley, however, didn't see it that way. The day she caught me practicing, she burst into tears. She told me she had never been that good, that I was making her feel even worse about quitting. She said it was her instrument and I was stealing it from her. I felt awful, even though I hadn't meant to hurt her. Over time, I lost interest. Violin is incredibly difficult, but by then I had moved on to my mom's guitar. Of course, Miley claimed I had stolen that from Mom too. At that point, I started realizing that anything I touched was going to be branded as stealing. The latest and biggest blow-up, though, has been over sewing. Miley got a sewing machine for Christmas. She said she wanted to make her own clothes, and I was genuinely excited for her. It felt like maybe this could finally be her thing. A month later, I started working on a cosplay costume for an upcoming convention with my friends. Unlike my previous cosplays, which were more armor and craft-heavy, this one required actual sewing. Naturally, I asked if I could use the sewing machine. That turned into a war. One day she'd say yes, the next day she'd storm into my room saying, "You're never allowed to touch it." The thing is, she hadn't actually started using it herself yet. She was thinking of projects, but nothing concrete. And meanwhile, I had deadlines for the convention. It became this cycle of her being mad at me for taking over, then letting me use it reluctantly, then blowing up again. To make things even worse, after I finished my costume, our fashion teacher saw it and was impressed. She encouraged me to take the fashion class next year. Since cosplay materials are expensive, I figured it was a good idea. Plus, I'd get access to fabric and equipment without breaking the bank. When I told Miley I was signing up, she lost it. She shouted, "This is my thing. You're always stealing everything from me. I won't be in that class with you. I hope you fail." That stung. Because despite all the fights, I didn't think our relationship was bad. We still do karaoke nights, binge shows, laugh over dumb memes. But when it comes to hobbies and passions, she sees me as the enemy. It doesn't help that our dad encourages me more. He's told me multiple times that I could turn costume making into a career if I wanted to. Whenever he says that, I can see Miley's face fall. She gets even more upset, accusing me of taking away her future when I never even wanted sewing to be anything more than a hobby. Now, Miley says I've stolen everything: art, business ideas, violin, guitar, sewing, cosplay, even the fashion class. She acts like I purposely wait for her to express interest in something and then swoop in to make it my own. That's not true. I'm just a nerd who loves creative hobbies, and I've never intentionally tried to make her feel like she doesn't have space to explore her own interests. But it's gotten to the point where she resents me for everything. And I can't tell if I should be backing off, purposely avoiding things she likes, just to keep the peace. So, am I the whole stealing everything from my little sister? Should I have purposely stayed away from the things she claimed as hers, even if I loved them too?